So with our handsome Mr. T, I did bring out one of his little bully stick pieces. So a lot of times with puppies to adult dogs to adolescents, there are some breeds that are more prone to resource guarding than others. Remember that a lot of times if your pup views you again as the end of fun, I would highly recommend that you work on take it and drop it behaviors and skill sets with toys and items they're allowed to have. So letting go isn't super overwhelming. And I know we mentioned the toy exchange game to take a peek, see at some of those. I do also like to practice when my pup has something that they're enjoying chewing on or they have their food, is the old school would be go and bother the pup, take it away, give it back to show how well they can exchange something. The problem with that is a lot of times it creates more conflict than good, and it might actually create the resource guarding in general down the road that we were trying to prevent, or it also creates gulping behaviors in your puppy or adult dog. So when your babe is enjoying a chew item, I'd recommend to let them just enjoy it in peace. But let's say you're going to add this into a training moment while they're enjoying their chew. Intermittently, as you walk on by, I would toss a couple snacks at them and then meander past. So Mr. T didn't quite notice that I threw in a few little snacks. And of course, now he's taking a little break. So maybe we'll see if he goes right back into chewing on his little snack. The benefit of doing this little drive-by or approach and disengage is that you're allowing your pup to, while they're enjoying their really cool thing, is get bonus bits on top of the enrichment they already have. So let's say your puppy could be chewing on something. If your babe has already shown pretty severe resource guarding difficulties, do reach out. There's safer ways to start this setup that don't involve going to certain steps quite yet if the babe is not ready. So Mr. T, though, technically, as he were to be chewing on his snack, nice job checking in with me, is I want him to think that me approaching doesn't equal me taking the item away. And as, let's say, he was pretending to be chewing on his thing, I would then nonchalantly approach, toss snacks, and then walk away. So you could be doing this with a food dish. You could be doing this with a slow feed bowl. I would make it that the chew item or the item they have is not, let's say, for example, of higher value than the snacks you might be tossing at them. I find it can be really helpful is if, let's say, they're chewing on something they don't go crazy for or they don't kind of get too jazzed about. But then as they're mid-chew and enjoying it, you from afar either toss a few snacks at them while they're enjoying it and then walk away. Eventually from that setup, you would end up doing where your puppy could be chewing on that item and as opposed to tossing it at them on their target where they're enjoying either the bowl or the chew or whatever it might be, could be even a frozen Kong, you could then from here go into feeding the floor away from them. So you could be, let's say he's mid-chew for pretend on his bully stick. I could then go, Teddy, ready? Find it. And get him to do a little find it off in the distance. I'm not going to instantly swipe the thing because I don't want him to think that every time I ask him to leave the item alone, it disappears. So I would do this sometimes while you're practicing and the item's still completely available, like the food dish, the chew, whatever it might be. And then you'd get your puppy to go from that item and then into the find it off on the side. So this way you're helping your puppy be able to disengage from something they find appealing or have higher value at the time, and then learn that disengaging from it does not mean the end of the game, nor does it mean confrontation where I'm just swiping something. If I went right to my puppy's face where he's got the thing in his mouth and I go to try to show him a snack to then take it away, that could still be too confrontational and overwhelming for a lot of dogs. So remember, they are not understanding the full spectrum that you're just taking it maybe for a moment, because a lot of times when we get involved and we tend to swipe a lot of things they shouldn't have, they get in the rhythm of every time they've grabbed an acorn, a stick, pine needles, whatever it might be, we become the swipers and take those things away. So getting your puppy to learn to let go of things they're allowed to have gets them in the habit of being able to let go of things maybe they shouldn't have down the road. So then from this high value item, we can then practice doing find it and get them to disengage from the target item here and do some movement around the thing. Now let's say I did want to take this item from him. He could be off doing his own thing. He could have been doing some nice find its. And then I could go and take the item and put it away for another day. If let's say I was trying to reinvigorate the item, I might go ahead and then take some of my stinky snacks, put it on top of his little chew, and now offer him his chew again that has even more value than it did before I took it prior. So now I've added a little stinky snack on top of it. So I've re-topped, for example, I like to sometimes think about it as your ice cream cone, and all of your toppers are almost all gone because you've eaten them. And then here comes the topping person to reload up your ice cream. You're going to get excited every time they come nearby because they're re-topping your ice cream with sprinkles or gummy worms or whatever it might be. So now as the person were to approach, and it always equals here's some extra awesome goodies, later you approaching doesn't equal confrontation. So again, notice how he easily leaves the item behind, and then we could do another little find it, get him to go find those items. And then, for example, I could try to get him to re-engage with this thing by making it seem a little bit more potent, and then go into doing some more little engage with the find it's here, and then away from the target item. So again, here's my little chew. Nice, because remember, if your pup doesn't feel comfortable doing this with items they're allowed to have, how are they going to feel comfortable relinquishing something maybe they shouldn't have? Also, the way we approach, we tend to get more gruff and overwhelming as we're trying to instill this fact that that's not what we want you to chew on. Remember that your puppies just view you as safe or unsafe, and they don't understand why would you go from feeling safe to now feeling unsafe and have you become more, let's say, feisty from their perspective. So again, he's chewing the item, we do a little find it, help him disengage, and then he can go right back to chewing again. So this way, it's a lot less confrontational. It gets him to think that disengaging has value, and at no point do we just swipe the thing and reinstill on his end that we are the end of fun or spooky. Nice job, sir. So again, we'll do a couple little find its, but he's doing a really nice job disengaging from his chew item. Remember then, if you practice it with things he's allowed to have, you could then do this with things he's not supposed to have that are within his comfortable range. So I know I've mentioned like leave it's. So if your leave it item, ready, Teddy? Come, good boy. If your leave it's always tend to equal you squealing in the background, I know we touched base on leave it's a couple videos past, then remember that if you're going to be practicing leave it, but then oops, you got too close and the puppy grabs it, going into some find its might be a great way to get him to instantly let go and go do the find its instead. But definitely start at the low end of the spectrum where it's easy for him to disengage and go for the other thing that has more value in the beginning. You're again trying to create habits for him for down the road, which then later, as opposed to feeding for everything you're doing, it's intermittent reinforcement. Or again, you're reinforcing through other items in the environment through either toys, enrichment, sniffing, play. So it's not always food-based as your puppy becomes more refined in their skill set. Ready? Teddy, come. Nice job, sir. He went to go get a little drink and came on back. So I'll give Mr. T a little breather from this training of the disengagement from a high-value chew, but he did a really great job. Nice job, sir. He's got such sleepy eyes. He's getting all tired from his day, but he did a really nice job with the disengagement from the chew.